Okay, so we're good to go? Okay. We'll call to order at 6:10. Apologies for the late start. We had some technical difficulties. So, and we are going to, I wanted to do a quick change on the agenda. Number 2, enrollment numbers will also be / preschool discussion. So when we get to that as well. So we have a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll move to approve the agenda.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Okay, all of those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. We'll move to number 2, enrollment numbers / preschool.
Which part do you want to go over first?
Why don't we do the enrollment numbers first?
Okay, great.
And if you wouldn't mind just kind of
Sure.
explaining how we come to these.
Absolutely. So we have no siblings, as I discussed with some of you, no siblings on the lottery list for the younger grades. So how this works is, for those that may be viewing online or see this later on, when it comes to the way that we draw students in order to admit them into the school, we look at our enrollment data after registration, see where those numbers lie, and then our school board will look at those and see where we may have some potential openings. And then at that point, we have a lottery draw. Now, if you have a sibling, then you do have preference by the state law if the school chooses to do that. And that is something that we try to do, is keep families together. And then if there's not siblings on that list, or there's not as many as the openings, then we open that lottery list up and the drawing for other people. And so that's where we are right now. And we have no siblings in K through 5 on the lottery list. And then we do have some in middle school, as you see there. And then for high school as well. And then just for the first year of high school there and freshman year. So what we're looking at is for the first couple classes, that 24 spot has been kind of our thing that we try not to make sure we don't go over. We had 24 this last year, first year when they were in kindergarten. And then, again, looking at that same number this year. And then Mrs. Ford and I met again this morning and discussed these other numbers. So the upper elementary, we had 25 as that baseline number. And then when you see in the 6 up into high school, for the first couple of years of high school, we have more teachers in that area than you do just the one. So we have some classes, for example, if you have advanced biology that may only have 7 kids in it, or if we have, even our math, we have students that migrate a little bit now that we've added more math offerings. Our Algebra 2 class, for example, may only have 16 kids in it. And then we have 2 other additional upper level maths that we have, aside from pre-calculus. But that's why we have some of those numbers a little bit higher. So for even the example of middle school, a couple of those periods, they have their elective classes where they have approximately somewhere between 14 and 20, depending on what type of offering it is in those classes. And then 27 is already the number for 10th grade. That's a number they've had here for a while, the incoming sophomores here. And then the 11th grade, we had opened up in May. Again, we thought we had maybe 2 others coming, but just on registration day, they decided to stick with their other school, which we completely understand. And then we had 1 exchange student who originally was on the list, but that student didn't end up coming over to the United States. And at this point, we had up through registration, up through today, we had nobody that had talked about any more exchange students coming. We also called the names we did have on the junior list and the senior list from previous years, and there were no takers, except for the 1 student who came to us on Monday during registration, but we had never heard from them before, so we wanted to make sure we discussed that. But that spot was still open from our May meeting. So those were the numbers for K through 12, and obviously we're open to any questions that we have that you folks may have, and then obviously with some additional support that we may need with adults for specific classes or certain periods or times during the day, like in elementary school. we would still have those in place. Sometimes they may go down to the workroom, they may go to the resource room, or they may be a push it into the classroom. Anything you want to speak to about elementary or?
We're kind of tying it all in at the same time. Do you want to kind of go over the preschool situation
Sure.
at the moment as well?
So right now we have 9, but that's with some asterisks. You see a little written thing on there. So that's the one thing at play. So 9 is our break-even number. We do have a reserve fund of about $9,000. We charge $230 per month for a student to be on or in the class. And that is over the 9 month. We have a 9-month period because it's 2 weeks of December and 2 weeks of June. So they pay 9 months at $230. And so you can figure out it's, about a little over $2,000, let's say $2,100. And again, so right now we're looking at that 9 number. Last year we had 10 most of the year until the last part, and then we had 9. We finished a little bit ahead. We had some expenses, so from last year when we started the program back up, so we did have, we were ahead, but not as much as we would have been if we didn't have those costs that we incurred at the beginning of the year last year. We have a program. We may need to look at how we design that program a little bit over this year. Chris and I are going to go meet with the person that's in charge of Preschool Promise in our region later this month to discuss what that would look like possibly for next year. June 17th was a cutoff this year. We just thought our numbers were going to be a little bit higher. With the Preschool Promise, you can have just designated spots, it doesn't have to be the whole thing. So if we say we have 3 spots opened up, but there are requirements as far as hours, which is 900 hours. It's basically the same thing as you have for elementary school. And they have dates like beginning of September through the end of June. You have to have your 900 hours during that time. The state does pay what it looks like about $13,500 for each of those kids that fills that Preschool Promise. So if you're looking at 900 hours, you would be looking at obviously wages that are obviously going to be, 1/3 higher. They're 50% higher really than what we currently have. Plus you'd be doing PERS and their insurance. So that being said, there's probably a, sweet spot there that makes sense for you to be able to offer that. That may allow us to offer some full-time and some half-time, which is something we've had people ask for in the past and we haven't been able to do that. So that may be an option. Again, those are all things that we would look to explore. There's definitely a manual there that's quite a few pages that Kirsty and I both downloaded and have that, and we've been reading through it. But again, until we go meet with that person later this month, we just kind of in a hold period. But now it is too late for this year. They said they may have some emergency spots we could have filled, but that meant we would have to go to 900 hours this year. We're just not looking to rush things like that.
Are we gonna open it up for one more?
Oh yeah, it's open. Yeah, we would have it open to 2 more, right? We can have up to 2 more for us with this. Again, if you do end up going Preschool Promise, it's one adult per 9 kids is the max for that. So that would change that a little bit.
And my understanding from what he's talked with me about is they went hard trying to get this
Yeah, we
to this
tried to
point.
put it out to families. Something
Yeah.
got that. We put it out on Facebook a couple times. We try to spread the word. We've had a lot of people interested until they hear it's part-time.
Right.
And then, our model really appeals to people that may have a stay-at-home parent situation, but it's difficult for a lot of other families. But at the same time, $230 is a pretty good price versus something that would be more full-time. But again, your normal full-time, would cost a lot more normally. Now, if we had other people doing Preschool Promise, it may help offset that cost. And you can charge different amounts, they said, whether or not they're on the Preschool Promise. So that's where we are at there. If we decide not to go forward with that, then, again, that would mean that we don't have the program this year. We definitely would want to tell people immediately so they would be able to look at other options. Plus that would change the employment of our staff member. Our recommendation would be that we go forward. Hopefully we have the 9, but if we have 8, we go forward with that, looking into it for the next year.
we did say that we were probably going to not do this if we couldn't fund it. However, being as close as we are, and being it's $2,000 difference, I'm just not that worried about that amount. And I don't know how you all feel about it, but I'm just looking at it over the big picture, and it's entirely possible you may get your 10. You just don't know. So, but any other thoughts on it? Or?
I'd just say I'm also really supportive of just having that option for the community and having something where, kids are coming into kindergarten prepared as well.
So it looks like we're gonna continue on with preschool from the nods of the heads, okay, great.
So,
Yep.
yeah. So do we have any other questions about the number shift for the rest of the grades? Everybody, I mean, you're saying you feel pretty balanced with this, even adding another to 6th grade.
Yeah, so
So-
we have one situation with just a living situation right now that this family's trying to traverse. And so it would either be add 1 or add 2 if that student were to leave. So they'll know within the next week or 2. We had to clean that up with 3 other families earlier today, or 3 other students, 2 families, and we were able to finally get in touch with those families. The office had been trying the last couple of days, but didn't have as much success as they did today getting that information. So, yeah, we're still just waiting for that one, which isn't bad. If you only have 1 student you're waiting on,
Yeah.
out of 300 plus.
Yeah, I just had one question about 9th grade and with 3 on the waiting list, if thoughts on bumping that up to 27 to be the same as the 10th, or is that too uncontrollable?
No, I don't
I don't know,
think
I was just gonna
I
throw
don't
that
think
out
it
there,
is.
looking at that number, and that's a transition time and.
the only one that's, I don't think you're gonna notice the difference between 1 student, to be honest with you, but
Yeah.
at the same time, the only class where it would get a little hairy potentially is English, but again, if you're looking at 26 versus 27, I don't know if it really matters. And I can appreciate what you're saying about the siblings. I think it makes a huge deal for families.
Yeah.
And I think that our families would appreciate that. Again, at some point, there's a number, right? I mean, we've had classes up to 33, not that we want to do that again, the
But you have wiggle
class of
room here
07, but
too. You have
Mhm.
wiggle room at the top.
exactly.
I guess that's
especially
what
when
I
you
was
look-
looking at.
Especially when you look at the
Right.
overall number of electives and offerings, I mean, that would be pretty good. And we even have some kids that take extended options through Shenectady.
I always come back to the same thing. You guys know the shift balance and where people are getting into classes. If that works, I mean, you're the ones that are gonna know whether or not that works. It's just, we just don't wanna put so much on you guys that it becomes a problem with trying to get everybody placed.
Okay.
But, you know,
I would be open to the 27 and the 9th grade class as well. Again, especially since we're able to move those out, and even in English and history, some of them don't take history this year because they're on a different math sequence, and so they go into US history instead their sophomore year, and then we split the freshmen and sophomores up a little bit. That's been our model. So,
Right.
yeah, I'm open to that as well.
No, we're having an issue with that. So do we have any other questions or concerns, or do we have a motion for this?
I'd make a motion to approve what's been presented by the staff with an adjustment for 9th grade to allow 2 siblings.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any other further discussion? And do we want to include, well, never mind, I guess I'll include it with preschool. Any other further discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes unanimously. We'll move to item 3, parking lot ceiling and painting.
Yes, so Troy was able to get some other quotes over the last few weeks. We were waiting on one last one, but they got it to us kind of in between meetings here, but we wanted to try to get this rolling. I appreciate those companies. I know it's a busy time of year for them, so I was able to finally get some of them out and get their proposals finalized. The first one that we had was the one that we did during the budget season, and we did confirm with them because May 3rd was the updated one. They said that it'd be the same price. I did check on that before I sent it to you folks. That one for everything was 17,300. The one thing I noticed on that, was that it said pay it back with up to 3 inches of asphalted concrete, versus the one that's right after it is, 4 inches. The total square feet looked like, Legacy was looking at a little bit more. The one with Willamette Valley had, about 1480 or 1483. And this one said 1652 for the Legacy, for the patching and the payback. So that would be the one thing. That striping though, you'll see that the striping for the Willamette Seal Coat one, that one talks about all the current layout, so all the arrows, et cetera, they make sure to put that down, the lettering, fire lanes, all that. The one with Legacy just talks about restripe it, the parking stalls, fire lane curb, all that. Exclusions are like compact, bus, motorcycle. Those would be an additional, it looks like. So, and then we have 2 other ones after that were a little bit more expensive. Camacho seal coating was right at $20,000. I think that bid was a little harder to read as far as, the pricing on it. It looked like they weren't even doing as much on the crack seal. They did have the patch with the 1559 to square feet. And again, this talks about level 3. And then the last one was Cascade Paving and Seal Coat. That one was 21,500. So Troy said he felt good about the first 2 that we have there, A and B. He hadn't really spoken too much with Willamette Valley, that was me, but he liked their bid and how they're written up. And then Legacy he felt good about too, and thought they did a thorough job on their bid as well.
So between the 2, there's like the, depth of asphalt, but were there differences on the striping too? Sorry. I
Yeah,
know you
so on
mentioned that at the
Legacy,
beginning.
there's less, it looks like there would be some additional amounts for any
So
of the
on
words.
on the second one, if we needed
Yeah.
extra, okay. Okay, well then that.
For like an extra inch.
That's what
Yeah.
it says. I think I think all of them would probably flush it up to whatever's there. I mean, I have a hard time thinking I'd do that. Maybe it's just that, usually when you look at concrete and stuff, you're looking at 4 inches on a regular pour. I know some driveways, et cetera, are 6 inches, but, the asphalt, I'm sure it doesn't last as long, it's usually not as thick, but I would assume it's somewhere between that 3 and 4. So I don't think that we're gonna probably notice a difference between either one of them, I guess is gonna be that once they prep the pad.
I'll move to approve the bid from Willamette Valley Seal Coating for $17,300.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes unanimously.
Okay, good, thank you. We'll call them tomorrow.
Okay, and I think without anything else on here, we're done. So we'll adjourn at 6:28.
All right, thank you. I appreciate it.
I'm going with you. I got dropped off.
Oh, okay.
You're going. Yeah, it's-